Welcome back to another episode of Rock Boys Football. Kirby Smart, the Georgia Bulldogs, keeping the fellas busy on the recruiting trail as they land another commitment in the 2025 cycle. This one coming from four-star athlete Todd Robinson from the state of Georgia. And the reason I'm calling him an athlete is not only is Todd Robinson considered one of the best running backs in the 2025 cycle, according to 24/7 Sports, a top 7 running back in the class of 2025, it sounds like Todd Robinson is committing to this Georgia program with the intent on playing on the defensive side of the football during his collegiate career. We say this a lot on the high school recruiting trail, just bet on athletes. And you look at Todd Robinson, he is one of the more premier athletes in the state of Georgia, whether he's on offense, whether he's on defense. I kind of trust this kid to put it together on the football field at the college level. And then you start having the conversation regarding, all right, where is Todd Robinson going to fit in on the defensive side of the football? I think this answer is really obvious, and that's at that star spot. Now, it might take a year or two for Todd Robinson to kind of learn the ropes of the defensive side of the football. Hasn't played much defense, plays quarterback at the high school level, but you start looking at the physical traits that are required to play that star position. One of the more unique positions that you see in college football, where you're tasked with doing a lot of different things. You need unique athletes to play that star position. Todd Robinson, I think, has all the physical traits you are looking for to play that star role. And I think it starts with the short area quicks. This is a very explosive, dynamic athlete, a guy that when you're saying, hey, we got to go match up in man coverage with a slot wide receiver, Todd Robinson's a guy that I think can mirror those kind of wide receivers exceptionally well. Then you look at the size, 5'11", 195. This kid is put together. That's important at that star position. You are asked to make a lot of tackles in space. You are asked to play in the box and run support, especially in the SEC. You need stars that are willing to kind of come downhill and play with that physicality, and that requires having the adequate size. Todd Robinson going into his senior year, almost 200 pounds. You kind of love that. And then the physicality. And we don't have many question marks about the physicality of Todd Robinson. You take a look at the offensive film, the way this kid carries the rock, the physicality in which he runs with is going to translate to the defensive side of the football in a major way. Bet on the premier athletes. Todd Robinson is one of those guys. I trust Kirby Smart in terms of how he evaluates defenders and whether guys can make that transition. I think Todd Robinson certainly can. Want to get a little bit into the film and talk about what Georgia's doing on the recruiting trail. Before we get into it, and as always, just want to say thank you to you guys, to the Georgia fans. It's been a blast breaking down this program on the recruiting trail the last couple of weeks. The amount of support y'all continue to show, that truly does mean a lot. If y'all do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. Much more importantly, I would love to hear some of your feedback in the comment section on the transition that Todd Robinson is going to make on the defensive side of the football. I think one of the more intriguing storylines for this Georgia program. Get into Todd Robinson again. We talked about just Todd Robinson is. You start looking into the physical profile. This is a kid that also runs a 10.9 in the 100-meter dash. So not only is the long speed there, the most important trait I think Todd Robinson has is just a really clean movement skills. That shows up on the offensive side of the football. Now, you're talking about Todd Robinson. You don't see a lot of any defensive reps on the film on the offensive side of or on the at the high school level, because he does play quarterback at the high school ranks. But when you start taking a look at Todd Robinson, the pure athleticism stands out in a big way. Now, we're not going to spend too much time on the film because, again, no defensive reps. But, I mean, how smooth he is as a mover with the football in his hands, you kind of just figure that's going to translate to the defensive side of the football. And you're talking about a guy with some big-time long speed as well. So whether he's playing the boundary cornerback spot, the star spot, the safety spot, I mean, the ability to move as clean as Todd Robinson does, the ability to have the long speed that Todd Robinson does and carry and cover so much ground, that stuff's really important. I think this rep kind of shows it. I mean, just a super, super smooth mover when it comes to operating in space. And when it's time to step on the gas, this is a guy that has the long speed too. And the athletic traits allows him to kind of do all sorts of things for this Georgia defense. And take a look at what Georgia's doing in the 2025 cycle. You have to be fired up, right? We got on and talked about Zayden Walker committing to Georgia, a couple of days ago. Georgia was outside of the top 12 in the overall recruiting rankings. You take a sneak peek Monday morning, they're up to number 6. It sounds like they're certainly not done yet. And you take a look at just kind of how this class is coming together. One, they're prioritizing the positions that have led them to be the most dominant program in the country the last couple of years, right? The linebacker spot with a guy like Zayden Walker, who's my favorite linebacker in this 2025 cycle. Then you look at the line of scrimmage, specifically on the defensive side of the football, betting on some guys. Darren Impignogan coming from New Jersey. I think I got that name right. We covered him. This is just a freak show athlete on the defensive side of the football. You continue to scroll down. You pick up the commitment from Christian Garrett late last night. They're taking care of the line of scrimmage. They have a really high upside quarterback in Ryan Montgomery, who I think could be a riser in the recruiting rankings with a good senior season, and then 2 of the best tight ends in the class. And so you start looking at Georgia, they know exactly what they're doing on the recruiting trail now. I think you're going to start seeing some offensive linemen join this class in 2025. That is probably the position we are keeping an eye on the most. But one of the things I love about Kirby Smart, what he does on the recruiting trail, is he knows what this program is, and he knows what's gotten this program to the highest level of college football. And he focuses on those spots on the recruiting trail. It's no secret why this Georgia program has so much success. A lot more commitments to break down for this Georgia program over the next couple of weeks. Appreciate y'all rocking with the fellas. If you guys do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. Appreciate you guys, and we'll talk to y'all later.